Join us in a festival that promises to be extraordinary, because Bali is extraordinary.
Yeah, good morning to the first session of the Ubud Writers and Readers Festival. Have you been here since the first year? Third year, look at that. I mean, around in the audience there, you'll find some of our dedicated volunteers who are very much a part of our family and who travel from far and wide just to help us out with this festival. And for those of you who were here for our first festival, 2003, who was here? I was here. Yeah, Renee, she was here. Hey, this is like our first festival. It was kind of cozy like this, yeah? I think we had about 300 guests. So you're kind of living history, because it's the first festival we've had since 2019. It's the first opening, the first gathering, and I don't think you're going to see this again. So please enjoy every minute and look back with fondness, you know, at a time when, you know, we've all had the challenging year or more, yeah. So this is a COVID midway point. Yeah, very excited about the program. As you know, it's partly online and also on the ground, so any sessions you can't see here, I mean, you'll be watching it virtually as well. But it sort of gives you two options, and we'll certainly be taking some of this online element into the festival next year. And please do examine the program. I know it's a bit confusing, but we have some really great sessions, because we've really explored the theme on every level, you know, to the whole self-reflection idea, to how we relate to others, to how we relate to our environment, you know, looking at nature, looking at global warming, climate change, all those issues that concern us all. So please do examine the program. I also want to point out another little project that the festival has been very excited about this year, apart from our emerging writers, is the Weaving Project. I don't know if you're aware of this, but you know, with COVID and many people out of work, it's been a very interesting time to look at the young entrepreneurs that are carving a new career for themselves. They're pivoting their careers, you know, so many are unemployed through the demise of, you know, hospitality, etc., tourism. So one initiative that the Ubud Writers and Readers Festival chose to support is the Pejeng Weavers. I forget their name, Tanun. Anyway, and it's the cutest story. So in the middle of Pejeng, this cute village over there, there were some old women who were weaving, but not that often. They were just weaving, you know, selendang for the pura, something like that. And then suddenly all these young women were unemployed. They had no work. So a few great minds got together and said, what if we start weaving again? So the old women got out and dusted the looms and called all these young girls who were like 25, much younger than me, and then they started weaving together. It's so cute. So one of the initiatives that we decided to do for the festival was to say to a lot of the international writers that cannot attend the festival, we're actually going to present you with a little gift from these women in the middle of Pejeng who are weaving up traditional scarves, etc. And that's a gift from us, but it's also kind of your way of participating in their sustainability. So we'll be sort of sending out more information about that, but any of these initiatives that you can support is fantastic. And these scarves, they've used natural dyes, so it's mango leaves and indigo and sapodilla fruit and all sorts of amazing things. So we see it as our responsibility not just to support young writers and those in those creative industries, but also in the wider creative industries such as weaving, which is such an incredible cultural tradition of Indonesia. So, yeah, that's one thing we're doing. In the meantime, I'd like to introduce my new best friend. This is Pak Amin.
Thank you.
He's a linguistic genius, and he also studied in Melbourne.
Yeah, I did.
He loves Melbourne, that's where I'm from. And you worked in London as well. I mean, he's amazing, and he's going to tell you all about his profession and all the bit about language. But he's from the Badan Pembinaan.
Badan Pengembangan dan Pembinaan Bahasa.
That's it.
That's it.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, but
And
call it Badan Bahasa.
Badan
for short.
Bahasa.
Yeah,
And
easier for you.
And he's a specialist in forensic language.
Linguistics.
Okay, so silakan Pak. He's amazing, so you're going to love listening to his story. Terima kasih.
Right.
They've been amazing supporters of the festival this year, so all those gorgeous young writers, Indonesian writers that you see here, he's the man that made it happen. Big applause.
Thank you. I think I've got the headset here. Thank you, Janet. Selamat pagi, salam sejahtera bagi kita semua, Bapak dan Ibu sekalian. First of all, allow me to introduce my presence here in English, and then I'll continue the explanation in Indonesian. It's not because I cannot speak English, but because in accordance with the regulation, I have to, because I'm representing the ministry, then I have to speak in Indonesian language. That's according to the regulation. But I will not apologize for this because this is regulation. Well, I will be very short in sharing with you the policy that we have in the language agency, to be short, language agency, because if you want to have it incomplete, then language agency for language development and cultivation. It's too long, but to be short, it's just the language agency. My role in the language agency is to, first of all, carry out the programs that, in accordance with the regulation, there are 4 actually. One is for the development of language and literature in Indonesian language and literature. One. Number 2 is the cultivation of the language and literature. Number 3 is the protection, conservation of language and literature of local languages. And number 4, and this is one that I think is very challenging, to make Indonesian language as one of the lingua franca, the language of communication of wider community in the global arena, which I think this is very challenging and it's not easy to realize. In accordance with the cultivation and development of literature, since last year, when I was appointed as the head of the language agency, I have prioritized the programs for the cultivation of, and also the collaboration with young writers, especially for those working on writing in local languages. Why this is important? Because I have seen the data that the local languages, many of them are extinct. And this is something that we have to look for the strategies, how we can maintain the local languages. And for that, and also this is for, I also thank to the committee here, to the event organizer, to Janet and the team, for allowing our agency to invite local writers, local language writers, to participate in this event. Yeah, this is a very prestigious event, and I have invited 25 young writers, yeah, from many parts of Indonesia to take part in this event, and we fully support them to come to this event. So thanks to the committee. And for further explanation about our program, I will show in a minute, right? Baik, sekarang saya akan sampaikan summary, ya, ringkasan apa yang akan saya sajikan di dalam Salindia ini. Salindia, do you know Salindia? No. And that's one of the words that I felt difficult to memorize when I first came to Badan Bahasa. Salindia means slide. Yeah, slides. Yeah, that's the translation. But the translation sounds more difficult. Yeah, even for me as Indonesian speaker. Sorry about that. Baik, Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, tadi saya sampaikan tentang peran Badan Bahasa, tugas Badan Bahasa. Nah, lalu apa yang kami lakukan di Badan Bahasa? Kami ini bertugas untuk melindungi, mengembangkan. Ya. Nah, terkait dengan sastra, khusus karena kita bicara tentang sastra, maka orientasi kami itu adalah mengembangkan sastra yang sehat. Jadi kata kuncinya adalah healthy literature. Sastra yang sehat. Mengapa kita harus mengembangkan sastra yang sehat? Kalau sastra itu dikatakan sehat, berarti lingkungannya juga harus sehat. Orang-orangnya juga harus sehat, supaya ini berkembang. Karena kita mau mengembangkan sastra. Nah, oleh karena itu, sastra yang akan kami kembangkan, ya, katakanlah di Badan Bahasa selama ini, yaitu sastra yang memang akan berkembang sampai ke mungkin kiamat -2, ya. Jadi H-2 kiamat gitu. Nah, ini yang akan kami kembangkan. Nah, artinya sastra ini adalah sastra yang akan mampu mengantisipasi persoalan-persoalan yang muncul, baik itu persoalan-persoalan sosial, persoalan-persoalan politik, persoalan-persoalan ekonomi, dan persoalan-persoalan lain yang dihadapi oleh umat manusia. Dan sastra adalah representasi dari ini semua. Nah, inilah tujuan kami mengembangkan sastra di Badan Bahasa kali ini. Nah, itu satu, kata kuncinya adalah kami akan mengembangkan sastra yang sehat. Dan ini terbukti, ya, kalau misalnya perdebatan-perdebatan atau polemik-polemik di dalam sastra, yang tentu saja itu bukan wilayah saya untuk mengomentarinya, tapi catatan kita akan mengacu kepada bahwa polemik di dalam sastra sepanjang itu memang dikembangkan untuk pengembangan sastra itu sendiri dan untuk pemberdayaan masyarakat, maka itu sesungguhnya adalah sesuatu yang sehat. Karena dari polemik itu, dari diskusi itu, dari forum itu akan berkembang, dari hari ke hari sastra itu akan semakin tumbuh di masyarakat. Nah, itu yang kedua. Yang ketiga, ya, kami melihat, ya, bahasa-bahasa daerah di Indonesia yang jumlahnya 718 ini, yang sastra lisannya, sastranya sendiri baru teridentifikasi itu sekitar 130-an begitu, ya. Ini kan potensi yang luar biasa besar, ya. Sastra daerah ini untuk dikembangkan supaya ini nanti menjadi bentuk kekayaan yang akan berkontribusi terhadap perkembangan sastra Indonesia. Jadi fokus kami saat ini adalah bagaimana sastra daerah ini berkembang, bisa berkontribusi untuk perkembangan sastra Indonesia. Begitu. Dan ini akan terjadi resiprokal gitu, ya. Sastra daerah berkembang, sastra Indonesia berkembang, ini akan saling mempengaruhi, saling menguntungkan. Nah, oleh karena itu, pada tahun ini ya kami mulai, karena saya baru setahun ya, I just appointed I was appointed last year, so it's only 1 year that I have chaired the language agency. So saya membuat program itu adalah mari kita bina para sastrawan muda yang akan berkembang ini. Saya bukan berarti menafikan keberadaan orang tua ya. Bukan berarti orang tua sudahlah, sebentar lagi juga orang tua akan tadi masuk kotak ya, kata sajaknya Kang Godi. Tapi yang lebih penting itu adalah membina yang muda-muda. Ya, emerging writers are more important for us. Although it does not mean that all generation will soon, in quotation, pass away. No, right? It's not that idea. Tapi mereka yang sudah di older generation ini adalah membina, ya, menjadi fasilitator, begitu. So that emerging writers will develop, will grow from the communities. Nah, inilah yang kami lakukan di Badan Bahasa sekarang, ya. I have, I coordinate 30 offices in the 30 provinces in Indonesia. Jadi saya meminta kepada and I instruct the representative from our office di 30 provinsi, lakukan pembinaan terhadap sastrawan-sastrawan muda. Ya, itu di semua tempat. Nah, caranya macam-macam. Ya, misalnya mereka menulis melalui sayembara. Kemudian mereka adakan komunitas-komunitas yang memang akan bergerak dalam bahasa-bahasa daerah itu. Lakukan pembelajaran di sekolah. Nah, ini adalah yang kami lakukan. Karena kami merasa bahwa ini adalah yang bagian terpenting ya dalam pelaksanaan tugas kami. Nah, ini di dalam konteks Badan Bahasa tentu harus ada kajian-kajian ilmiahnya. Ya. Mengapa itu penting? Nah, tim kami di Badan Bahasa itu terdiri atas orang-orang yang sangat committed ya untuk pengembangan sastra ini. Nah, oleh karena itu kami melakukan berbagai macam cara gitu ya supaya sastra-sastra daerah dan juga sastra Indonesia ini berkembang bersama-sama, begitu ya. Kemudian berikutnya, nah kami juga melakukan semacam festival-festival sayembara untuk menampung aspirasi para sastrawan dalam menulis. Nah, kami melakukan pembinaan itu, pemberian penghargaan, presenting the awards, ya. Dan ini sudah banyak jenisnya. We have many kinds of awards, ya. Apakah untuk yang senior writers, junior or emerging writers, ya. Even for the school students. Ya. Nah, ini adalah salah satu strategi yang kami buat. Ya. Nah, memang ada levelnya ya, mana yang untuk orang-orang yang sudah senior, untuk yang hebat-hebat begitu, mereka berkompetisi dan kami memberikan assessment, ya, evaluation on their works, ya, literary works. Nah, dan bulan Oktober ya, ini adalah bulan di mana kami melakukan celebration of the language, month of language, ya, gitu. During October, the whole October, and on the 28th of October, this is the puncak perayaan, ya. Nah, pada saat itu kami akan we will be presenting the awards on the 28th of October every year. Ya. Jadi ini adalah waktu yang pas ya. Ubud Writers and Readers Festival ini dilaksanakan pada bulan Oktober sehingga kami bisa support ya kegiatan ini gitu. And I hope ya this is not the first and the last. Ya. It's good. Yeah, yeah. karena apa ya? Saya punya pikiran, once we are committed to something good, ya, we have to keep it going, ya, begitu. Jadi kalau Ubud Festival sudah 18 tahun, ya, ini kan berarti terus menerus ya. Nah, kami pun akan melakukan hal yang sama gitu ya. Tidak ada yang sifatnya. So I will always avoid the what we call hit and run. Ya, this is something that I don't like. Ya, so we have to keep continuing the good works that we have done. Nah, jadi itu yang intinya ya, yang saya perlu sampaikan pada forum ini. Terus nah, ini yang tadi saya sampaikan ya. This is the strategy that I have adopted for the development of local language writers. So this is only this year that we have just introduced this to the public, to the schools and to communities. And this is something that we will carry on. Yeah, we'll keep continuing. This year we pilot this in 3 provinces, and next year this is the good news actually. Yesterday the minister has confirmed that my proposal to expand the implementation of this model to include 12 provinces has been approved. Yeah. So thanks the minister. Yeah. Just because the minister also sees that this is something good, that we have to continue. Yeah. And I am very grateful that the minister has the passion, yeah, and also has the vision, yeah, to continue this good work. Yeah. And he has approved my proposal. Thank you. Yes.
Saya mau tanya, is there any province in particular that has stronger local language?
Ya, yang kalau if we talk about provinces, ya, yang kuat itu misalnya Jawa Timur, kemudian Jawa Tengah, Bali, Jawa Barat, itu the local language literature exist, ya, dan itu cukup kuat, banyak istilahnya peminatnya, ya gitu. Nah, ini kami bekerja dengan komunitas. Nah, ada yayasan di Jawa Barat, ya, Yayasan Rancage yang memberikan penghargaan kepada para penulis sastrawan dari bahasa daerah. Kemarin saya dengar ya dari peserta diskusi dari Kang Godi, dan juga semalam ini wakil dari Madura, Matoyu, mohon maaf, Matoyu ini seorang sastrawan dari Madura, dan dia katakan komunitas di Madura ini sedang berkembang, ya, yang muda-muda ini. Nah, saya juga nanti di program tahun depan, ya, for next year, in the 12 provinces that have been selected, itu akan muncul sastrawan-sastrawan baru. Nah, yang 12 itu sementara ini ya, Jawa Barat, Jawa Tengah, Sulawesi Selatan, Bali, Kalimantan Tengah, Kalimantan Timur, Papua, NTT, NTB, Maluku, Maluku Utara. Satu lagi apa ya? Sumatera Utara. Ya, so 12. Nah, itu apa yang kami akan lakukan program ini.
I mean, because in Bali, while in Ubud, you know, most people speak Balinese. I've noticed in Denpasar, some of the young families and the parents don't encourage their children to speak Balinese. They want them to speak Indonesian or even English. So do you have a program that's also going to tell the parents that this is part of their cultural heritage?
Ya, nah itulah saya melalui kantor bahasa Bali, ya, Balai Bahasa Bali, membuat integrated model, ya. Di situ ada sekolah, masyarakat, keluarga, ya, dan pemerintah. Nah ini part of our program is what you have said just before, gitu. And he's the head of the language center in Bali, Pak Toha. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Saya pikir itu ya yang perlu saya sampaikan, dan kalau masih ada waktu kita boleh diskusi.
Yeah, any questions in the audience actually? Because it's a really exciting initiative and something we've always been concerned about, yeah, like how to help the local language survive because it's so connected to your identity, yeah? So what happens when you lose your own language? I mean, is there any studies about cultures that actually lose their language?
I don't think, there are studies on these particular issues in our language agency, but I don't know in universities, for example, yeah, because I'm not in that area, yeah. But if you ask me about forensic linguistics, I can talk about this 24/7.
Any questions? So when you talk about the program tahun depan, what's the process? What are the steps to create young writers writing in their own language? What's your plan?
Ya, cara kami adalah ya, pertama kami akan, dan ini sudah terjadi mulai tahun ini juga, kami bertemu dengan komunitas, ya, karena umumnya para sastrawan ini hidup di komunitas. Nah, kami mengajak komunitas untuk mengidentifikasi program apa yang kira-kira bisa menarik para calon penulis baru. Nah, kemudian kami gerakan ke sekolah. Jadi sekolah ini adalah sebagai tempat pembibitan, ya, sebagai tempat untuk membina calon penulis-penulis muda. Nah, mulai dari SD ya sampai sekarang ini baru SMP ya, karena kalau SMA sudah agak susah memasukkan kurikulum karena itu menjadi pilihan. Nah, kami bekerja bersama ya, kemudian memilih materi-materi pembinaan selama di sekolah itu apa yang diberikan kepada para siswa, dan tidak kaku ya, very flexible. So the teaching materials for the school kids are decided in discussion with the teachers and the parents what they need. So it is very contextual. Jadi kata anak muda sangat kekinian, ya. Jadi materi-materinya dibuat dalam bentuk materi yang disukai oleh anak-anak. Jadi kalau misalnya mau bercerita ya, storytelling, what issue are you going to share, to tell about? So it is decided in discussion with the participants as well.
For those who don't understand, Pak Amin is from the Linguistics Ministry or Board in Jakarta, and he's created a plan for. His whole thing is about language and also maintaining the language. There's over, how many languages in Indonesia?
718.
718. So he doesn't want them to die because, you know, research shows around the world that so many languages are being lost. Yeah. And so his job is to try and help them survive. So you're focusing on 12 regions. Yeah. with a plan to go to the primary schools and to encourage the young kids to write. So it's sort of that idea of creating emerging writers at a very young age and encouraging them to write in their own language.
Yeah.
And I guess the aim for that too is to make them value their own language because, with the modern world and Netflix and English everywhere, there's sometimes they lose their appreciation of their own language because it's part of their identity.
So basically, this is actually a kind of a new approach to language revitalization. So this is how we go about this, how we carry out this program, so that it is executable in the schools, and the learners will love learning and writing in their local languages. And in the ministry, and also in the public, language revitalization or language protection is a big issue now. Yeah, like 2 days ago or 3 days ago, in the 5th of October, Kompas issued a report, special report on the loss of local languages in Indonesia. In the last 10 years, the report mentioned about the loss of more than 11 languages lost, just because of the decrease in the number of speakers. And when we approached them to revitalize the language, the local languages, their languages, they said, no, we don't need the language anymore. So it is subject to the attitude of the speakers as well. If we want to revitalize the language, but the speakers don't want to do this, then we cannot do this. We cannot do anything. So that's one of the difficulties in revitalizing the language. So what we do now, and we will do next year, is that we will approach the speakers and then we will ask them, do you still want to keep your languages? If they do, let's do it together. Yeah. So, and it will be more difficult if the language is not taught in schools. Like the situation like in East Nusa Tenggara, 72 languages in the area, in one province. In Papua, 483 languages. So how can we maintain this while the speakers decreasing from time to time? So something that is sad. Yeah. And it's, look, for Sundanese, Sundanese is a big language. I speak Sundanese.
Do you know what he means when he says Sundanese?
Yeah, in West Java.
West Java.
Yeah, in West Java. Sundanese is spoken by more than 40 million people. Wow. So you can imagine, this is a big language. But the statistics shows that in the last 10 years, the speakers decrease. And how many? 2 million people in 10 years. So this is something that we have to think about, how we will be able to protect the languages. That's why I will apply the method, the strategy for this, not only for small languages, but also to the big languages like Sundanese, Javanese, Balinese. So Balinese enjoys the regulation just because the regulation is observed by almost all communities, but not in any other parts. Yeah.
But you're recording the language anyway, yeah? You have documentation.
Yes.
Yeah, because I read that, like in Australia, some of the indigenous communities have totally lost their language. So they've been trying to research and find the words because nothing was written down, and that's a tragedy, yeah?
Yeah, that's part of the conservation. Yeah. The conservation. But unfortunately, we have not documented all the 718. Yeah, this is very unfortunate. Even if they are documented, it's not complete. So because when we are talking about conservation, then we are talking from let's say, from morphophonological aspects, the sounds of the language, the internal structures of language, the syntax or the sentences construction, and the meaning, the the dictionaries. So we have not documented this quite well, unfortunately. Yeah, just because of, let's say, the spread of the language in the archipelago. And it's very, very expensive to travel from one place to another. Yeah, just to meet, for example, a speaker. Yeah, and many of them do not have the orthographic system, the writing system. Yeah.
We're just about to finish up. Did you want to explain this last diagram?
Yeah. Well, this is actually what I have mentioned before, right? This is how we strengthen the network, yeah, to create the ecosystem of how we can make the literature grow. So, tokoh adat, yeah, sastrawan, badan bahasa, and then researchers, cultural institutions, men of culture, pelaku seni artists, so mass media, young generations, communities, people, parents. So all people will have to take part in the creation of the ecosystem of literature. So this is what I mean by showing this.
So you have a big job ahead of you.
I do. So
no Netflix for you.
Yeah, we ask for the support from everyone. We don't want to exclude people, but we want to ask them to take part. That's the principle.
Well, it's a fantastic initiative, and we're looking forward to being a part of this next year because he's going to support our festival. So thank you very much, Papa. It's been a pleasure having a chat to you. We had dinner last night, so he's my new best friend. Okay, terima kasih banyak.
Terima kasih.
We have our next session with Hilmar, my other new best friend.
Another applause for our speaker and moderator. Thank you to our speaker and moderator, and of course, thank you to our audience today for joining our session. Our next session will be Tale of Banda. In conversation, Hilmar Farid. Make sure you collect all your belongings before leaving, and because we will start our session in a very few minutes. Be safe, always use or follow the health protocols, and enjoy the festival.